Now, for decades, Aboriginal workers toiled on West Australian pastoral stations in exchange for little or no pay. Others who spent their lives on native welfare missions had their wages withheld by the state. The Barnett government, stolen wages scheme set out to make amends, but it's so far fallen far short of expectations. As Lucy Martin reports, the retired workers are now mounting a new campaign to correct past wrongs. And a warning for Indigenous viewers, this story contains images of deceased people.
It's 9 o'clock and already blazing hot on this sprawling cattle station in the East Kimberley. Smoko is fast approaching, but so is mustering season, and there's no time to rest. It's a hard slog out here, but the men working under Harry Curtin reckon they've got it pretty good. If you ask them to do this work for free, they'd laugh you off the station. But not so long ago, that's exactly what their forebears had to do.
I have to watch the cattle all day and put them in a paddock. There was no wages. They were just working for tea and sugar and tobacco, shed and trousers. Lost a lot of cattle, over 3,000 head of cattle. Look at that. The white people treat us like a bloody slave quarter.
Aboriginal workers played a major role in establishing Western Australia's pastoral and agricultural industries. They worked from dawn till dusk in harsh conditions.
Hard work, mate. I have to get up 3 o'clock in the morning now. I was only 13, 14, a young fella. And if I don't get up early in the morning, Jesus Christ, I had to stop and go off his head, put a whip around my back.
Others toiled on vast government-run missions. They got paid for their work, but up to 3/4 of their wages were taken and put into trust accounts for safekeeping.
We didn't bother asking for money.
Why not?
Because we didn't know anything about the money.
Until the 1970s, Aboriginal people working on stations had their wages set by pastoralists rather than the state. Some paid their workers in food, others paid nothing at all. Anxious to keep the politically powerful landholders on side, the government turned a blind eye.
No money.
Yeah. Did you ever ask for any, or you just?
Well, we had to do it because, we've been trying to get shot or something from white men.
These workers are meeting here in Kununurra because they believe the government of today owes them an apology and a large chunk of back pay.
One of them first started $20 a month, and today $20, £10 a month that time.
We done, our share. The government should share the same too, no?
For a brief moment, it seemed they might get both. Last year, the government invited workers who had their income controlled by the state between 1905 and 1972 to apply for $2,000 each. Of the 2,026 who applied, 700 were knocked back.
Whilst it was designed by the government to bring closure to what is a very vexed period in WA's history, it has actually had the reverse effect.
Those who worked on pastoral stations were automatically rejected.
What you've had now is confusion, anger around people. Why have you been paid? Why have I not been paid? I'm just as entitled because I had my wages stolen too.
The government cannot be responsible for wages of Aboriginal people who are not in government facilities.
Peter Collier is sticking by his decision to exclude pastoral workers, saying he's simply following the recommendations of a 2008 report.
We have certainly adhered to the recommendations of the task force in terms of acknowledging the fact that wages were removed from Aboriginal people in government facilities.
In what way was that acknowledged? Have those commission workers been issued with an apology or formal recognition?
No, not at all.
Mr Collier has ignored other key recommendations, including making a formal apology to workers whose money was withheld by the government and setting up a $2.5 million fund to encourage economic growth.
We're certainly moving in that area. We've done that in a number of facilities, certainly in terms of employment opportunities through Aboriginal affairs.
Has that fund been set up though, 5 years after the report was released?
No, it hasn't.
They want someone to say, first of all, thank you for the work that you did and for how you've contributed to building up stations in our area and others. And they want people to say sorry for what you had to endure in that process. And neither of those things have been they haven't been achieved through the Stolen Wages Scheme yet.
Kununurra-based solicitor Judy Harrison has taken up the fight on behalf of workers in the East Kimberley. She says the minister cannot ignore the role that previous state governments played in the exploitation of Aboriginal people.
The government at different times authorised and approved certain stations to have a certain number of Aboriginal workers on the basis that they receive certain conditions. So the government has participated in the conditions that the stations provided.
These highly respected elders are not prone to complaining and they'd rather not dwell on the past, but they have a decades-old debt to settle and they're asking the government to make amends.
Well, you look at the hours you put in, the days you work, day and night.
$2,000 doesn't really cut it.
Doesn't even cut it at all. No. That's the bottom line. I think the government should look at it and say, well, see what benefit we can do for the community and help the old people that are living in all these communities.
While no amount of money will compensate for lost wages, recognition and an apology, in their view, would be priceless.
It's important to really emphasise the fact that this is not an issue of symbolism. These are people who worked and had their wages taken from them under policy set by the government at that time. Now we have the chance to, I think, to reconsider those station workers, and I'd like to think that perhaps the station industry can come on board with this in a celebration or acknowledgement of the work that was done.
He'd also like to see the government release documents relating to wage arrangements, so those who want to pursue legal action have the information they need.
It is for the government to talk to Aboriginal people to find a figure or to find a package. So it may not be money at all. So it's to find a combination that is acceptable and which Aboriginal people are willing to receive. And the government might be very surprised about what it can achieve by collaborating with Aboriginal people.
But Mr Collier has no plans to negotiate a new figure and he's ruled out an apology.
How can you say the scheme has been successful if the very people it was trying to make amends with say it's failed?
I'm sorry if they do feel that way, and it certainly that wasn't the intent of the exercise. The intent of the exercise was quite clearly, unambiguously, to right a wrong.
Do you feel comfortable saying you've righted a wrong when so many Aboriginal elders are telling you that you haven't?
Yes, I do. I mean, inevitably you're going to have some people that are disaffected and that are disappointed.
The retired workers are reluctant to pursue legal action, but they haven't ruled it out.
I think they left it too late, you know. A few people gone.
Back on Glen Hill Station, Harry Curtin just hopes men like his father will one day be recognised for the role they played.
Yeah, he was one of the best. Throw big bulls, make a good camp horse, and bring it out on the field and show everybody, yeah, good.
Is that right, John? Were you
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I was a top then.
The long wait continues. Lucy Martin reporting there.